I'm absolutely embracing this conversation. Of course, there are a lot of jokes in studio here with my 3-second attention span that I firmly fit into this bracket. I have not been diagnosed by a professional over the recent years, so I'm not going to play in that space. But I'm glad that we are talking about it, that we're joking about it, that it has become a hot topic right now. It has been misunderstood, I think, for so long, especially in African communities right here on South African soil, where a conversation around mental health often carries the stigma or just silence. But that is thankfully changing. From childhood diagnosis to adult symptoms that go detected for years, ADHD is far more common than most of us think, and it can be managed when understood. In fact, it can be unlocked, I'm going to say. And joining us today is Lucy Mario Simao, Managing Director of ProFaster Consultancy, mental health peer counselor and head coach at Body Wellness and Balance. And he's not only an ADHD expert, but also leading South Africa's first wellness conference focused specifically on dealing with ADHD. And for that alone, I think deserves a massive round of applause and welcome, because, and I know I always complain about not having a live studio audience, but you're going to have a whole conference full of people to applaud you in a moment. So kudos to you, sir, for that, because this must be quite a moment for you. And that's not lost on me. But I love the fact that we are focusing on ADHD, and I have to ask you first the why. Before we get into how we describe it now, why was this your passion? Why were you led down this path?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me.
Absolute pleasure.
You know, the thing is that I was in the space where I had struggled with myself, right? So I always tell people sometimes when they see me, and say, oh, you're very funny. Sometimes I'm funny because I'm trying to cover that image, you know, from being isolated, not feeling comfortable being around people, and also, you know, struggling with really giving attention to things, right? So for that reason, it came to a point where I had to start working on myself. Well, I really haven't ever in my life gone to a psychiatrist to tell me or help me with, you know, any kind of mental therapy or anything. I had never done that, but because of my background, I never had the opportunity to do that, you know.
It wasn't like it was there waiting.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But I had to learn to work on myself, right? And for that reason, I feel like people need to also understand that when we talk about ADHD, we're talking about self-development. We're not just talking about you having to go for a medical, you know, help, but we're talking about you as a person understanding who you are.
Yeah. I love the way you framed that, because suddenly in this moment, all are welcome. And I'm a firm believer we all sit on some kind of scale. Definitely. I'm sorry, it's the human condition to me, and I've met probably over 100,000 incredible individuals like yourself and been able to interview them. I'm sorry, we are all a little bit kooky, and I love that about us. But so many misconceptions about ADHD, and we want to paint it with a brush. We want to label our child. We want to make it easier to deal with. Can you, for us, break it down in your own understanding? What is ADHD? And if we could look at it from the development of the child, where they are in their growth, and then when it exhibits in an adult, in the likes of you and I.
Okay, so let me put it this way. In a more sophisticated way of opening up, you know, of talking about ADHD, we all will say it's attention deficiency hyperactivity disorder, right?
Yeah.
But then if I have to look at it from a more practical perspective, ADHD simply means your inability to then give attention to one thing, right? So a long time ago, before we have now a different perspective of ADHD. A long time ago, we looked at ADHD as your behavior disorder. It's like you can't behave.
Like it's a choice.
Properly. Yeah. You know, like if you are unable to behave, you have ADHD. It's simple as that. But now it has changed. The perspective around ADHD has changed. You know, now we understand ADHD, you know, from a neurodiversity perspective, you know, like it's possible for a person to have different personalities or different, you know, faces and traits. But then it still goes down to the issue of how do you behave around people, or around things that you actually have to be on. And I think what we need currently to fix, if I have to put it that way, it is the mindset that when you say, I have ADHD or I'm diagnosed with ADHD, how other people see
Then
that.
respond and meet that.
That's where the problem is.
And I love the fact that we got kids on TikTok teaching us now about ADHD and neurodiversity, going out there and disseminating for themselves. So I think in the broader perspective, great. We are opening up to it. Young people are appreciating the individual more than they used to.
Yeah.
And highlighting that, which is beautiful. Within our communities, I'm quite a traditional guy, the thought of me asking for help, me showing weakness, and in most South African communities, let's be honest, that is where it's at. Is that needle shifting now? Are we, by virtue of the fact that we are sitting having a conference talking about ADHD, and you are one of the leading drivers there, are we seeing that cultural shift, that necessary shift?
Well, yes. Not 100%, not at the level we wanted. The reason why we have to host this kind of events. I had a time to do a little research, especially in Cape Town, and I found out that we do have a lot of support groups specifically for ADHD, but I would say half of them is not active, right? So, but that's a problem because you can't have a support group and it's not active.
It needs to be engaged.
So community, when it comes to mental disability, because that's how sometimes we understand.
It.
So when it comes to mental illness or mental disability, what happens is that people tend to perceive it as a huge problem. And if you are that kind of person that is facing some kind of mental disability, you are discarded from the group of people that are called normal people, So we as people that have experienced that and as specialists, we have a different perspective around that. And we say, look, either you have ADHD or not, you are still human and you're still a normal person, but you just operate in different realms.
Different operating system.
Just different brains.
That is brilliant. I've got to ask you before we let you go, because I would imagine you're going to have an unbelievably busy week. The conference, how can people plug in? I know tickets are free, which is amazing, but what's the lowdown there?
Well, we do have two days basically. It's not just on the 24, so it's going to be 23, which is more of a support group. That's going to take place at the City Library, Cape Town City Library.
Brilliant.
So people can just come in the 11 in the morning and just ask for the venue where the event is, and they will direct them.
Oh, fantastic.
And on the 24, which is going to be in Waterfront Inwell venue, there's 2 ways someone can attend. The free package on that, anyone that wants to come can come. And there's a benefit for that, which is basically just having a special, from Inwell, which is giving to anyone coming on that space. So that's basically having 45 minutes of complete wellness experience of Inwell for 2 people, but in the process once. That's what they're giving to anyone coming. But if someone buys a ticket on Quicket, then they have a book from a Dr. David Rex Orgen, who is one of our special guests coming in from USA. And also because wine is good for the brain, we have 1 bottle of wine for them.
We need a bit of dopamine every now and then, yeah.
So that's basically what it is. So they can get hold of tickets online.
Oh, Quicket is where you said we can find it. Absolutely love that. Wellness conference on dealing with ADHD on the prequel on the 23rd, then on the 24th at Inwell V&A Waterfront. Free entry, but of course some added bonuses if you join through Quicket. Thank you so much, my friend. Absolutely love this conversation. If you want to go deeper, connect in person. I always say make that connection and be a part of the growing conversation and spread that word. Don't miss this wellness conference on dealing with ADHD for ourselves and our own growth. Again, I reiterate, happening on the 24th of this month. That's Saturday at the Inwell V&A Waterfront. Tickets are free but limited. And of course, some added bonuses if you go via Quicket. All the best of luck.